In some other news we've been tracking for you over the past few weeks, in the timeless words of our nation's founding president, it seemed impossible until it was done. Two men, driven by their passion and their compassion for society's most vulnerable, 600 kilometers and a target of 6 million rand to feed hungry children for a year. A part of their mission has now been achieved. Kabelo, Mabalane and Peteni Khuzwayo have now completed that grueling run from Johannesburg to Durban, but their fundraising mission is far from over. Let's give you a reminder of where it all began. Okay, we apologize for the lack of audio on that reminder video, but in fact, these two gentlemen join us now in studio here on the AM Report. Kabelo, Mabalane and Peteni Khuzwayo, thank you so much for joining us. My calves started to ache immediately when you got into studio, just thinking about those 600 kilometers between Johannesburg and Durban. Welcome, Kabelo. Let's begin with you.
Us.
How was it? How was the run?
It was manageable. I mean, here we are. You know, I think the fact that we made it through is testament to, you know, the methodology that Peteni and I believe in from, you know, preparing one's, you know, physique to undertake, you know, such a grueling task. We've got 20 comrades between us. We've been preaching that strength training and proper nutrition in the run, you know, yields dividends, you know. So, and this is kind of the message that we preach at Kumo, you know, on our Saturday runs and our Wednesday runs and our Move the Nation platform, which is an open to public, you know, curated run sessions for the public. And we continually tell the guys that we run with that strength training and nutrition yields so much dividends. And it, you know, it was proved in this mission that we undertook.
Peteni, so give us a sense of what the kind of mentality was that is needed for a task like this. How do you prepare? Because as Kabelo says, it's not just about the run itself, it's about your mental capacity, your mental ability to push through as well. How did you go into it?
I guess, you know, if the why is big enough, it always makes things easier. We've been in business together for some time, and we've always believed there's got to be a bigger cause driven or kind of like ingested into the business of Kumo and Move the Nation. So with a mission like this, getting to Durban was one part, but the priority was the big why, feeding kids, doing something beyond just being fit. And so mentally, you know, when it got tough, that was the one big thing that just kept cropping up. I've just completed a kilometer, I've raised 1,000 rands, therefore there is no turning back because that why was big enough.
Yeah. And I mean, let's talk about the why now. You've done your part, you've done what you said you would do, you've run those 600 kilometers. The reason behind it, that nagging knowledge in the back of all of our minds that so many of our children not only go to bed hungry, but that they're expected to go to school hungry. We know it's impossible for a child to learn. How far did you get with that target? What's the amount you're still looking to raise?
So, geez, like, we're looking to raise another 10 million.
Yeah.
More. I mean, I guess, you know, the target was 6 million, but 6 million was the minimum.
Yeah.
We're just halfway. So we still...
So you're about halfway now?
Yeah, so we're still calling on... In fact, thank you to everyone that's contributed thus far. Corporates, businesses alike. You know, massive shout-outs to the Ferguson Films, Ari Shumeng, your ShopRites, your Hollywood Bets, the individuals. But we're still calling on people to partner with us. You know, great things are done when you rally and partner with people. Just myself and KB can never, ever kind of complete the mission on its own. We need government, we need faith-based organizations. So we still continue to call on people to donate by visiting hopewitheverystep.com. And yeah, on there are different options for individuals, a minimum of 100 rands, for corporates, a minimum of 5,000 rands to feed those youngsters.
So Hope with Every Step is the website, and if I am wanting to donate this morning, but I want to know more about how this money will be spent over the coming weeks, months, I mean hopefully years.
Yes.
What can you tell me?
So, I mean, the money that we've raised now will, it's going to be gobbled up in very quickly. 6 million rand that we aim to raise feeds 10,000 school children for a year. Like Peteni said, this is only but the beginning. And if anything this trip has done has shown us how severe the issue is. Because all you need to do is drive 2 hours outside of Joburg, and not even that much, to see kind of the number of people who are going without, So I'm almost embarrassed to say, we're aiming for 10,000 school children, because we all know that there's more kids out there who are expected to go to school, like you say, Michelle, and expected to learn hungry. Those kids aren't hitting their developmental milestones. Those kids are not going to absorb anything that they taught at school.
No, it's impossible.
So we're just pleading and just reaching out to every single one of you. I've got children, and I'm in somewhat of a privileged position, that my kids have food and my kids can eat and concentrate when they get to school. But there's kids out there which we encountered. En route, we stopped at a jam center and we saw these kids, real life. And, that's what spurs us on. And we're just pleading with the rest of South Africa. We've just hit the 50% mark. Let's get to 6 million. The money will be spent. We're partnering with JAM, which is Joint Aid Management, an organization with a reputable, with a great reputation, which has been doing this work for 3 decades plus, so trust us in terms of this money being used, properly. We've got auditors, and next week, when we come back onto the platform, we'll kind of divulge how much we've raised, and, it's kind of playing open cards, really. But to answer your question, we're partnering with JAM. They run about 3,000 ECD centers across the country, and they're going to make sure that this food gets to the right people.
Yeah. I'm so excited to actually see you guys start to spend this money and start to make a difference in these children's lives. When does that happen? When do you start to... You haven't reached your first mark of 6 million yet, but the 3 million, when does the spending of that money happen?
Well, I guess, JAM today would have had 120,000 kids by the end of today. Because that's the numbers that they do every day. So I guess once the money hits their account, it's business as usual for them. For us, I guess also the big thing is the continuity. We've just
because it's not just a once-off. You don't want this.
It can't be a once-off. It absolutely can't be a once-off. Running is probably the biggest voice. There's tons of runners. There's tons of steps that we cover every day. Runners spend. So there's a big part about, how does this continue? It would be awesome every single year to count 10 million steps, 50 million rands raised through the contributions of ordinary runners, because there's millions of runners. So for us, that's a big part about galvanizing and continuing to grow something that I believe once, we call it the end of this campaign, but it's certainly the beginning of the end of what we feel is something much bigger than what we envisaged.
And as we reflect on the importance of your initiative to feed hungry school children, we've been talking about our economy now coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, how we plan to create jobs, how we plan to get our debt to GDP down in 2023. These are the children who are the future of South Africa's economy. That is what you will be donating to when you donate to this initiative.
100%. Like I spoke about hitting developmental milestones in that ECD level between, 1 and 7. David Brown from JAM gave us some scary statistics. These kids who don't get the food, brain development is hindered, stunt growth, and then, this is our future. And so in terms of, to your point about how do you invest in the economy, of this country, you got to invest in those guys.
That's where it starts.
You got to invest in those guys. And I just think it's important to mention that our donation lines, because we have to bring an end really to this particular campaign. So the site is open until the 9th of October. And then that's kind of when we'll tally up. But then there's this big piece about carrying on and using running, because we love running, and we're calling on other runners too, the running community, to come alongside us and use our steps for good.
Well, all the best with the remaining, what's it, the remaining 8 days, 8 or 9 days, if you count today as well, before this round of donations does come to an end. Kabelo, Mabalane and Peteni, Khuzwayo, they are with Hope With Every Step, and the website is hopewitheverystep.com.
Yes.
.com, that is where you go if you want to donate. It's a 100 Rand minimum donation for ordinary South Africans, 5,000 Rand minimum for corporate South Africans.
Yeah, all the way up to 250.
All right. Yeah. Those are the details for you. Hopewitheverystep.com. Help them reach that 6 million Rand mark to feed 10,000 school children for a whole year. Incredibly important initiative.